How many of you are prepared for an incident like this? Get my new book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival, and I will teach you to think like an attacker so you can truly defend yourself. Don't just react, act. Available for pre-order now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Sheep No More. Get it.
My name is Jonathan Gillum.
And this is The Experts. This is Jonathan Gillum, and this is The Experts on Facebook Live, Twitter, and YouTube. And as always, I got a lot to talk about. Turn this music down a little bit. Somebody wants, before we even get started, somebody wants to say hi. Come here. On there. All right. You got to stand by. You took the whole entrance to get up here. Stand up there and look good. All right, we're going to talk about Trump and how he's winning the war against the NFL. Eminem should just shut up. And the same thing with Representative Al Green. Just more of these idiots displaying how stupid they really are. Hey, if that's what they want to do, then let's let them do it. That's what I say. So why don't we get started right now? How many of you are prepared for an incident like this? Get my new book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival, and I will teach you to think like an attacker so you can truly defend yourself. Don't just react, act. Available for pre-order now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Sheep No More. Get it. I don't know if you could hear earlier, but he bumped his head against the mic. All right, dog, can I put you down now? Because he just whines the whole time if I don't pick him up for a minute. And everybody wants to say hi. Listen, go ahead, sing your song. You want to play a little drum? That's a pretty good beat you got going there. All right, see you later. Up and over. Get out of here, you old dog. 17 and a half now. He's just standing there looking. All right, so let's get started talking about the real stuff that's going on. First and foremost, finally, I got an op-ed on foxnews.com. You can check that out. I think if you just, let me do it real quick. I think if you just Google my name, you can Google my name and go to news up on the top, and it's the first one up there. Or you can just do, let's see here. We'll just put Jonathan Gillum, Fox News, see what comes up. Yeah, if you type in Jonathan Gillum, Fox News, and then hit news at the very top, it'll pop up there, and you'll see exactly what the article is about. But I've talked about it on here before. It was about law enforcement and the civilian population. My book actually talks a lot about this. And let me make that a little smaller there. My book actually talks a lot about this, and once you order it, pre-order it now at Amazon and Barnes & Noble, you're going to see that it is possible for people to be aware. It is possible for people to target themselves from a terrorist or an attacker's point of view. It could be a rapist. It could be a pedophile. People need to realize you can figure out the locations where the attack is most likely to occur, the time it's likely to occur, the vulnerabilities that these bad people will exploit to get to you, and the avenue of approach that they will take. You know, this guy in Vegas, he used the surrounding hotels and how they looked down upon the area where the open air event was going to take place, the fact that nobody checks your luggage, you can bring whatever you want up there. He utilized all those vulnerabilities and the fact that law enforcement doesn't have Overwatch evidently in Vegas for outdoor events, and the awareness of the people is very low. I mean, a good example of that is the shooting started and the promoters turned the lights on. They should have left the lights off. It's much harder. I know that sounds like, oh, well, you got to give the people light to get out of there, but the reality is if they had it all thought out, they could have had directional lighting and left those lights off. And then it's harder to shoot into a crowd when you can't see it. But they didn't do that. They turned the lights on and highlighted all those people, and so it made it easier to shoot. So the attacker exploited that. All those vulnerabilities, the avenue of approach. We know that if somebody's going to shoot up an event like this, it's not going to happen at 3 in the morning when nobody's there. It's going to happen between the hours of whatever it was, like probably 8 o'clock and midnight when that event would occur. And we know that the possibility is somebody attacking on the ground. Okay, so you put a lot of cops around there. But it's also avenue of approach could also be from one of these hotels. They didn't secure that area. So this attacker was able to exploit those vulnerabilities, and his avenue of approach was from a high angle up in the hotel down to the people with a long gun. You can figure that out. Police can figure that out. You just have to give it a little bit of effort. Take a step out of your comfort zone and think before you go there about you yourself personally, the civilian. Think about, you can even look at Google Earth and look at the surrounding areas and kind of come up with an idea of this. You know, how many of you send your children off to, and by the way, we got to get these numbers up tonight. So if you haven't shared this, share it. Share it over and over again on Facebook. Retweet it on Twitter. If you don't follow me and you're watching this show right now, go over, like my page on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, and then follow me on YouTube if you don't follow there as well. We got to get these numbers up, man. It's terrible. Listen, the CQRF, the Constitutional Quick Reaction Force, we have to get the numbers up on this show. You have to spread the word. It's up to, forget about Facebook, like censoring and limiting my reach, or Twitter and their games that they play. You know about it. Tell 10 people, get people watching, get people to retweet it and share it, and let's go. Okay, getting back to this. So you yourself, the civilian, right? Just like I'm having faith in you and putting confidence in you and giving you a task to retweet or share this show. It's the same thing when is you taking personal responsibility when you go to these events. How many of you have put your kids on a school bus, never thought twice about it? How many of you have signed a permission slip for your kids to go on a field trip and never thought twice about it? Do you know what happens when they take those kids into the city or certain places for field trips? Now, in New York City, it's a little bit different. You don't have a lot of buses. It's even just as bad because they put them in colored shirts with the name of the school all over it, and they send them out into the city. But in rural areas, in other cities, they put all these kids on buses. They bus them to wherever the location is. They take them inside, and then they go park those buses, and nobody watches them. I know because I used to work security for Little Rock Convention Bureau, and all these schools would come in, and they would take their buses, and they would park them in just different locations. Also in Virginia Beach, in Norfolk, they would be doing something in downtown Norfolk. They'd take them over to, there's a baseball stadium there. They would park them in an empty parking lot over there. Nobody's watching them. Maybe one person. It would not be hard to infiltrate onto those buses and either hide or hide something. It wouldn't be hard at all. So most people don't even think about that. I sat one time and when I was doing these threat assessments, I took a giant cardboard box and I laid it in the road, just down the road from a police department and a school. And this was in Virginia Beach. Just down the road off Virginia Beach Boulevard, there's a school right across the street from where the police department is. I drove down the side street, myself and another guy. We took this giant cardboard box just before the buses left from school, and we laid it on the edge of the road and the curb, and we just left it there. Now, yes, just a cardboard box, but I was thinking nefariously. I was doing this to prove a point so I could use this type of problem with the soft target awareness training course that I was teaching. This is where I came up with the whole gist for my book. So I took this box, put it on the side of the road, whereas half of it was in the road, half of it was on the curb, and we just drove to, there's a strip mall right there, when we sat there and we watched. And not only did parents drive by to pick their kids up, not only did the school buses fully loaded with children drive by it, and they get stopped at the stoplight. So now all these buses are lined up, like 20 school buses lined up at the stoplight. Not only did all that happen, and if that was a bomb, it would have killed the majority of those kids. That box was big enough for a 250-pound bomb. But we saw at least 2 police cars drive by that box, and nobody did a thing. So this is an odd thing in this country. That is, it's learned helplessness. It's a plague of unawareness. So this article that I wrote today, or it was published today, I wrote it last week right after this thing happened in Vegas. And I wrote it about the fact that law enforcement, well, let me start where I was there, that the civilian population in this country just does not get it. They don't understand that they are responsible for their own personal protection. I'm looking for this Fox News article that was posted earlier. So they don't get it, right? They don't understand that they are personally responsible for their own personal protection. they want to cast that off on police, but ultimately it's you allowing those things to happen and not thinking your way through long before you get to that part. Remember, it's not run, hide, or fight. It's escape, evade. Evade means you're going from place to place. You're still trying to get out of there, but you're maybe going from concealment and cover from one point to another to get out. But when we look at the way most people work, their minds work in these situations, where it be Orlando or in Vegas, I was watching 20,000 people lay on the ground in Vegas. That's it. That's all your defense is. Let me tell you something. If I was there, you would have seen me not walk on water. I would have been running over the top of people to get out of there. And then if somebody got shot, yeah, I'm going to come back and try to rescue. I'm not some kind of weirdo like that Dan Belzerane guy or whatever his name is, where I'm just going to run away. But I'm at least going to run for cover. I'm not going to lay on the ground and be found dead like they had in Orlando, where people sat in the bathrooms with the killer while he's on the phone, and no one tried to stop him. They laid there. And one girl, shot already, laid there. Nobody tried to stop him. And she almost drowned when SWAT, in their infinite wisdom, came crashing through the wall and broke all the pipes. And she was laying there while the floor filled up with water. Now, I give SWAT a hard time. There's a lot of honorable men and some women that are on SWAT, and they do incredible jobs. But there's a lot of SWAT teams that are worthless, a lot of people who are SWAT operators that are worthless. The FBI has a lot of worthless SWAT operators. Local, state, and federal police departments have worthless SWAT operators and worthless SWAT teams. They don't even – what they ultimately do, the majority of these SWAT teams, is take away from the whole law enforcement officer, from the total officer, that could be given the equipment, that could be given the training very cheaply. I've had people debate me online about, no, you can't, it's too expensive, and you have to have range time because there's nothing like shooting behind a gun. Yeah, of course, there's nothing like shooting a real gun, and you need that experience. But you don't need to spend the majority of your time on a static range. I can take people that qualify once a year on a gun so that they can understand and spend a couple hours on the range getting their target practice down. I can take those people and train them, I don't know, maybe 3 times a week for an hour, maybe 30 minutes before they go out into the field with airsoft guns at the department. And these people will be refined in their mind of, here's how we got to go. This is the way we stack. This is the way we respond. This is the way we do Overwatch, so on and so forth. It's not that difficult. You do need to spend some time. And, hey, listen, cops, I know you work a lot, but you may have to spend some time volunteering to train. I'm sorry. Listen, I've tried to go and train a lot of these people at a very discounted rate with different departments at airsoft fields, but all they want to do, they'll pay $300 to do live fire shooting. They'll pay $300 to train with some SEAL Team 6 guy on a range, but they won't pay $100 and take a weekend day, like a Saturday for 4 hours, and come out with their fellow officers and learn how to do the things that they're not being trained on. They're not going to do it. And now that's their problem. So this article that I wrote today, on foxnews.com, and you can find it on Twitter and it's on Facebook. It's the last post that we had before this video. What I find extremely puzzling is 2 things. One is when cops argue with me about this, because there's no reason to argue with this. We are not advancing as fast as the bad guys are in our tactics, techniques, and procedures. We're not. And we're still fighting with shooters, with mass shooters, the way we did with Columbine, where you wait. Okay, and SWAT's here, let them go in. By that time, the person kills themselves, it's all over. We don't have Overwatch. We don't have counter snipers. We don't have blocking forces. We don't have things set up in a tactical manner for special events. Yes, cops do a great job working the street every day. I imagine if the military, and I said this before, was going to go over to Iraq and monitor the streets and police the city for a while, they would need to have cops train them on the best way to do it, because they do it day in and day out. Same thing goes, though, for cops when it comes to fighting a tactical battle. They need to be looking at the way Special Forces handles this. Small groups handle it, and they need to be mimicking that. They need to give the right gear. They need to have the right weaponry, and they need to have the right training, but also they need to have the right attitude. And when I get executives from law enforcement and cops, patrolmen, or SWAT people saying, no, it can't be this way, it's got to be this. Well, listen, you got to start thinking outside the box. And I can tell you my ideas have never failed. However, the common way of doing things with mass shooters, the way law enforcement does it and preparing and forward thinking, has gotten hundreds and hundreds of people killed because the tactics don't work. And the same thing, so that's the first thing that bothers me. The other thing that just totally doesn't surprise me as much as it always shocks me is when I get these weirdos that have to respond on Twitter, Facebook, or whatever, saying that, oh, here we go again, warmongering. They just want to militarize and take over. You know, this is funny, especially coming from liberals. They just want to take over the country like communists with their militaristic ways. Really? What do you think Antifa is, or Black Lives Matter, or the Black Panthers, or the Democratic Party? These are all communist groups, all Marxists. And subversion is a much deadlier tactic than going out and trying to militarize all your police in this country. The fact is, we're not prepared for this stuff, and that's why it keeps happening. It's not gun control. It's a lack of awareness and a lack of preparation on the part of the citizenry and the police departments. You can limit all you want the Second Amendment. Crazy people are still going to get guns. Bad guys are still going to get guns. If they can't get guns, they'll kill with knives. The first killing in recorded history was when Cain killed Abel. And to my knowledge, he killed him with a rock. Killing is going to happen. It's the human psyche has the ability to step out of the internal, what's the word I'm looking for here? Instinctual reasons for killing. And human beings kill for reasons such as ideologies, which is the most dangerous killers, for reasons of personal anguish. Maybe they broke up with somebody, road rage, or because they're just crazy. The reality is, and maybe serial killer, maybe they actually get pleasure out of it. But reality is serial killers and mass murderers actually kill the least amount of people throughout history. It's really ideological killers that kill and continue to kill. We talk about that in the book as well. So I wanted to cover that a little bit in the warning order. And then I want to go into, I'm not going to keep you on here all night, but I want to go into Trump and the NFL, this Eminem weirdo. Like, why should I care what Eminem, who's a drugged out, deadbeat freaking rapper from Detroit, why should I care what this guy thinks about Donald Trump? He went from living in extreme poverty and in a drug-ridden lifestyle to having a ton of money. There's nowhere pointing there where it's like I go, okay, this guy gets it. I better listen to him. Okay, who are you, Eminem? You're a rapper. Okay, you haven't served. I tell you what, do this. Give up rapping for a while. You can go back to it. Go enlist in the Army or the Marine Corps. You'd never make it as a SEAL. And I'm not saying that he would make it in the Army or Marine Corps, but I know he wouldn't make it as a SEAL. Go and enlist. Go serve. Go swear to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Then after you do that for 4 years, get out and then see who actually is trying to protect the Constitution. Take a look at it then. And I recommend that for all these people. I don't know if I finished my thought on the fact that people argue. So let me just say this real quick before I get on Eminem. I think I skipped right over this. The people that surprise me is when on these social media platforms where they come and they say, oh yeah, I did say it, the militaristic and stuff, but they get very nasty and they act like they look and they say, oh, this one guy on the Fox News, if you go down to the article and you read the comments, they're pretty good comments, but the one guy says alleged FBI agent and alleged SEAL. What does that mean? It's not hard to look at my resume. My military records are online because of some weirdo journalist likes to go around putting SEALs DD-214's online. It's there. Can't stop it. And you can look up my name and see that I was with the FBI. Catherine Herridge did a story on me when I was in the FBI. Or on my squad, but I was kind of featured in that story. But anyway, these people were. But getting back to Eminem, who cares what this guy thinks? He's probably one of these weirdos saying exactly that about effective tactics for police. Well, how does he know anything? How does this guy know whether or not Donald Trump is a good president or not? He's only been in office for 9-10 months. He is for 9 months, a little over 9 months. He still doesn't have all of his cabinet confirmed by Congress, and he's working in an environment where it's all swamp people. This guy and the rest of these, listen, I hope people are learning from this Harvey Weinstein character and all these people that are coming out saying, "Oh, I knew it wasn't a secret in Hollywood." And this, why didn't anybody ever do anything about this? They rant and rave because Donald Trump said, you know, if you're famous or rich, you can grab a woman by the you know what. Okay, I personally think that was locker room humor where he was talking to another guy and they were just joking around. Other people take it a lot more seriously. That's your, you know, if you take that more seriously than that, that's fine. There's never any reported cases of Donald Trump going around grabbing people by the crotch. I can't believe I just used that word, but by the privates. So they'll raise all kinds of stink over this. Lisa Bloom, who since resigned from being this guy's attorney, Weinstein's attorney, she's the one that was handling all the women that accused Trump of doing stuff but never could prove it. Trump never paid any of these women. None of these, they just kind of went away. She's the same one that was handling Weinstein. Okay, so you're telling me, Lisa Bloom, daughter of Gloria Allred, another dirtbag lawyer, you're telling me that you didn't know when everybody else did in Hollywood, that you didn't know about all these rumors and allegations, and not just rumors and allegations, they knew that it was truth in Hollywood. You didn't know that? You didn't know that this was a possibility, that these things were true. That's what you're telling me. See, I find that hard to believe for an attorney who you know, her and her mom represent themselves as the freedom fighters for women, that you would go into a case and not do full due diligence on the person that you're handling. So basically what I'm saying is, Lisa Bloom, you're a liar and you're a dirtbag, just like Weinstein. I don't see any difference from the attorney that defends a dirtbag, even if you resign because the heat gets too heavy. I don't see any difference between you and the dirtbag himself, who is a rapist as far as I can tell. I don't think Harvey Weinstein should be leaving the country either. If there's allegations of rape, I mean, once it gets to that point, law enforcement needs to be looking at this, and somebody needs to go file a complaint before a judge and say he can't leave. He says he wants to go to rehab. Rehab, the guy's a rapist. He needs to go to jail, and then he needs to pay this price for that, and then he needs to get psychological counseling. I'm sure he can afford it. And all the people that jumped on his bandwagon, Donna Karen, I believe her name is. Not like I give two craps what Donna Karen thinks, but I think that's who it was. I don't want to say it wasn't her if it was her. Let's see here. I just saw it a little while ago. Her, Lindsay Lohan, and some other people jumping on the bandwagon defending this guy. Anyway, there's a lot of these different people. I don't care what any of these people think. And Eminem, who thinks he's saying now that if you're a Trump supporter, that you can go F yourself and you're not welcome to his concerts. I put this weirdo in the same category I put the rest of these very, very odd people. Somebody wrote on Twitter yesterday, somebody that I know very well, saying, no, it's not Hollywood, it's just a select few. I'm not seeing it that way. I think there's a select few in Hollywood that aren't weird. I think there's a vast majority of the people in Hollywood are they live under a different moral and ethical cloud than the rest of us, and they will sit around and bash the president. They'll sit around and say all kinds of nasty stuff about conservatives. They'll censor them. Silicon Valley is right there. Wall Street's right there. They will censor conservatives. I mean, you can call yourself a conservative, just a good American, somebody who has morals and values. If you want to call that conservative, I guess that we'll call it conservative. They'll sit there and censor them, badmouth them, act like we're stupid, and then they turn around and knowingly defend a rapist, Harvey Weinstein. And listen, folks, it's the same thing as speeding. You speed through an area where you've never been before, and you get pulled over, telling the officer, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know what the speed limit was. That's no excuse. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. And if you did and you lie about it, that's against the law. Well, if you're hearing rumors that Harvey Weinstein, a power player in Hollywood, is molesting, harassing, and raping people, and you don't do anything about it as a collective group, that just tells me, fear is one thing, but listen, this is the way fear works. One or two people that this happens to, I get it. I understand. But if I'm a guy and I'm in Hollywood and I hear about this stuff happening, I'm going to start talking to other people covertly, and I'm going to try to find out who else knows about this. And the more people I find, I'm going to start bringing it up to them. Why aren't you saying anything? Why these people would leak on the president and the White House that they thought he was doing something that fast. They would leak it, but yet in Hollywood, nobody leaks anything. Nobody goes to the cops anonymously about anything. Nobody goes to the press anonymously about anything. And the press didn't do any. New York Times didn't want to do anything with it, so the reporter went and did it with the New Yorker, which is a magazine. So Mathers, a.k.a. Eminem, should shut up. It's fake patriotism. He says, I love and support the troops, but President Trump should well, listen, Mathers, you should shut up, okay? And quite frankly, look, some of your songs are good. I've worked out to some of your songs before. Good, energetic music. I know that you came from the, whatever that place is there in Detroit and stuff. But, dude, you got to quit believing your own bullcrap, because making records doesn't give you the insight for leadership that you think it does, and it certainly doesn't give you, once you get to that level, you don't have a grasp on reality anymore. You should shut up. And if you don't want people that are Trump supporters coming to your concert, hey, say it more and more. That's what I suggest you do. Make sure everybody hears it. That way, those people won't go and give you that money. Now, hopefully, what will happen is you'll find your ass back in the poorhouse, and then you'll learn your lesson. That just like the Dixie Chicks should have shut their mouth, just like Dale Jr. should have shut his Twitter fingers, and all these other celebrities that don't think before they say and do things, and they suffer the consequences. Listen, I don't feel pity for you. If you want to have that attitude, you have the freedom to say whatever you want. But if you really want to be this great, knowledgeable leader amongst rappers, maybe, just maybe, you need to go do something besides rapping, drugs, and sitting around letting people tell you how great you are. Maybe, just maybe, you should step out of your role and go see what the rest of America thinks. Go serve the country. Put your riches and fame to the side for a second. Shut your mouth and be told what to do for a while. Maybe then you'll be able to get it, the reality of what's going on in this country. That ain't going to happen. I'm not going to hold my breath. Same thing with Ben Affleck. Criticizes Trump all day long. Doesn't say anything at first about Harvey Weinstein. And then, lo and behold, it comes out that Ben Affleck was grabbing some girl's chest on an MTV show years ago. So kind of listen, like I said yesterday, the good book, the good Lord's book, the Bible, and my mom and anybody I know that's ever had any morals about him at all, they always say the same thing. You are going to be judged by the content of your character, but also by the company that you keep. And if people are hanging out with Harvey Weinstein, they're probably on drugs, If they're hanging out with him a lot, they're probably in some kind of weird sexual deviation stuff. I said it yesterday. You can mark my word for it. I won't be surprised if pedophilia somewhere along the line pops up and people start talking about that. Hasn't been reported yet. I'm not saying fake news, but my investigative skills say, it might. Let's go to the A block, and I'm going to talk about Trump and the NFL. How many of you are prepared for an incident like this? Get my new book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival, and I will teach you to think like an attacker so you can truly defend yourself. Don't just react, act. Available for pre-order now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Sheep No More. Get it. Now, the only reason I go to A block and this and that is because kind of breaks it up a little bit and I can get my commercial in there. So sorry if I'm just one A block. I mean, but listen, Trump says that the NFL should have suspended Colin Kaepernick when he first took a knee. I agree with that. I've been saying all along that there's a difference between your First Amendment speech. Your First Amendment speech is something that is protected from the government saying you can or can't do something. That's what that's protected. You can or cannot disseminate information. The government can't tell you what you, as long as it's not classified information like the weirdo Chelsea Manning, you can say whatever you want. You can disseminate whatever information that you want. Of course, if you're conservative and you do it on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, you're going to be censored. I do have a problem with that because we don't work for them and they come under the FCC rules and regulations, and I think that they should be penalized for that because they're not private, right? You do sign up for it, but you're not paying a membership fee, and it's not private. These are public applications that you can join, and they come under the FCC rules and regulations. And I think freedom of speech should be pressed upon Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube much more. But ultimately, what the First Amendment is about is that so the government can't restrict your freedom of speech, right? Okay, so the First Amendment doesn't cover you when the guidelines in your job say that you can't do this, you can't wear this, you can't have this behavior because it'll take away from our business. The First Amendment does not protect you in this case. And if the if the NFL, including the Super Bowl, had a policy that you're not going to kneel, and they didn't kneel, the NFL can fine them. They've done it before. They can also restrict them, take them off the field, and they can penalize them, suspend them. They can fire them. They've done it before for other reasons, wearing the wrong socks, taking a kneel in praise to God, all kinds of. It's just crazy. And the same thing goes with high schools and the elementary schools and everything else. I believe Colin Kaepernick should have been suspended, and if he kept doing it, he should have been fired. And the rest of these people, same thing. And listen, Jimmy Johnson, or whatever his name is, not Jimmy Johnson, Jerry Jones, the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, dude, you came out and knelt with your players, right? You did it real quick and stood up for the national anthem, but you still did it. How then are you going to now go back and say if you kneel, you're going to be fired or pulled off the team or whatever? You're a hypocrite. And when the heat came down on you, largely in part because President Trump stood up to you all, now you're saying you're backtracking and say if anybody does it on America's team that they're going to be pulled off the field. Well, listen, first and foremost, you're not my team. I mean, I know Dallas Cowboys in Texas, but you're no more American than you know. That'd be like going and saying Domino's Pizza is America's pizza. You know, it's a product. America's team is called the Department of Defense. It's called your local PD, your state PD, your federal agents. That is America's team, not some freaking football team. Come on. You're playing games and getting paid for it. All right? You just grew up and got paid for doing the same thing that children do. You're not America's team. Give me a freaking break. But you made your bed, now you're going to line it. The president stood up to you all, and quite frankly, I think he's winning. I think that you're seeing backtracking on NFL owners. You're seeing backtrack on Roger Goodell, who I think is a communist himself. What a weirdo, this guy. He's introduced listen, again, if you hear me saying this, I don't want you to think that I am homophobic or there's not a racial bone in my body. I don't care who people's sexuality is. But the gay rights movement, the Black Lives Matter movement, and other groups like that, the Black Panthers, for instance, those are all separatist groups. Those are all Marxist groups, and they're based in communism. So last year, I think it was, I was watching the NFL halftime show. I was just flipping channels. It literally looked like the gay movement and the Black Panthers got together and were about to have a rumble with somebody. I mean, listen, it's that Roger Goodell and the NFL and ESPN are that far into the activist thing that they would make their entire halftime show look like a gay pride parade being protected by Black Panthers. I mean, and they're supporting a communist movement when they take a knee. So any light that the president can shed on this, any stance that he can stand up against them, here's why I tell you the president's winning. Because when he does it, other people see it and they say, you know what? The president's going to stand up against it. I'm going to stand up against it. And I'm going to stand with him. And isn't that what we've needed for the longest time? Rather than somebody like Barack Obama, when you have at Harvard where you have a cop thought somebody was breaking into a home. He sees a black guy walking up to the steps. I think they detained him for a little bit until they found out it was his house. He ended up being a professor and a friend of Obama's. And the guy was a freaking jerk to these cops. And Obama blamed the cops for doing the job and protecting this guy. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous. And again, if you have dark skin or brown skin or whatever, you're gay, listen, you can play the victim card. That's your choice. But you live in a free country. You can be the best that you want to be. You may have hurdles. I had hurdles. You just keep pushing forward. Trust me, if I stopped doing this show and walked off into the woods somewhere, it's not like people are going to come running back and say, Gillum, you know, you have light skin. Here's money so you can live, and we'll put you up on a pedestal so you can be noticed and recognized. You'll be a success. That's not going to happen. The world will continue to spin whether I'm on it or not. And quite frankly, I have loved ones and friends that that care about whether or not I'm here or there because I've cultivated relationships. I've done what I had to do to be a good guy for my mom, but it's not like the world, not like the country is set up specifically so I can succeed. Trust me. It's not set up like that. It's set up against me because I speak the truth. You want ultimate oppression? Speak the truth. That's when you're going to be oppressed in this country. So, let's see here. I love it when these trolls jump up. Left Coast, John says, right. Trust me, says the white guy. See, this is what I'm talking about, and he tells me to F off. See, that is a racial statement because this is a guy that clearly identifies people based on the color of their skin. Doesn't know me, doesn't know my resume, doesn't know what I typically say in this show in support of people being the best that they can be and looking past their skin color, their gender, their sexuality, and letting go of that stuff and striving to be the best that you can be. But people like this weirdo, they're not concerned with that. What they're concerned about is defending those groups that are playing a game using their color, their sexuality, their gender to divide the country. But guys like this John character are just too stupid to realize this. He's a racist because he follows racists. He's probably more Marxist than anybody else on this Twitter thing right now because he follows Marxists. And the reason he follows them is because he doesn't have enough cojones to be a man and stand on his own accord, his own ethics, his own morals, his own educated judgment. And that's a big problem in this country. People will follow blindly. When somebody says you're oppressed, and they say, yeah, I am oppressed. I've walked into a place before. I have dark skin. I had a hoodie on, and the manager in the convenience store watched everything I did. Yeah, well, maybe that convenience store was robbed multiple times by people wearing hoodies. You don't know that. You live in an inner city, and there's people that have dark skin or brown skin or whatever. You go down to Pine Bluff, Arkansas. You know, at one point there was white trash on one part of the city and black trash on the other part of the city. And I can guarantee you, if you go into any of the convenience stores back in the day, now they're all mixed together. But back in the day, if you went to any of the convenience stores in the area where it was all white trash, I can guarantee you somebody walks in with light skin in that area because that's all that lives there, but they're trash and they've been robbed, probably by white people, then they're going to be looking at them just the same as they would look at somebody who has dark skin wearing a hoodie in the inner city, where those are the people that live there that actually do the robbing as well. Okay? See, this is where you cling to this victim mentality, and it's wrong. It's wrong, and that's why I don't buy into it. It's ridiculous. It just shows the fall of this country, because we've moved past the point. There were people who were enslaved in this country, who were oppressed. There was a time when women couldn't even vote. There was a time when if you didn't do what your husband said, and you got smacked across the face, or your boss even smack you across the face if you're a woman. And if you were gay, same thing. Those days are gone. You can be whatever you want. But you have to realize it. Stop following groups like Black Lives Matter. Tell me one inner city location where Black Lives Matter has gone in and stopped the shooting, the black on black shooting. Show me where they've gone in and sat down with community leaders and said, listen, we have to clean this place up. We have to stop having people have babies out of wedlock. We've got to start getting the churches back involved with stuff. We've got to get people to clean up their yards when they live in public housing that's paid for by the taxpayers, and get people off drugs that are on welfare that's paid for by the taxpayers. You don't see that. Why? Because Black Lives Matter is a communist Marxist organization that uses fools like you, John. They use fools like you to make everything seem like you're oppressed, or they're oppressed, or the government's against them, or Trump is bad, when in fact, you're the fool that's being played. That's a fact. Now, I'm going to say one more thing before I close up tonight, and that's the Reverend Al Green. And I'll just simply say this. Why don't you... And, gosh, I just forgot her name. I probably blocked it out. Maxine, what's Maxine's last name? Why am I forgetting this? Help me out, brain room. Stand by. My brain room's on it. Maxine, what's her name? Come on. I'm going to figure it out before you guys do. Maxine Waters. Yeah. Why doesn't Al Green and Maxine Waters, right, walk their asses out of Washington, D.C. and go find a communist place to live, go back to the organized crime ways that wherever they came from, and leave? The country, you know, Maxine Waters is rich, and she's gotten rich off of the taxpayers. Al Green, I don't really know anything about this guy, except he's just as much of a loudmouth waste of human soul as Maxine Waters. And this has nothing to do with color. I've seen plenty of stupid people that are white. It doesn't matter. You know, you have Hitler was white. You have Mao, who in China killed millions of people. He was Chinese. You know, it doesn't matter. Ho Chi Minh was Korean. Stupidity, ignorance, ego knows no color. You can have it. But the freedom in this country allows you to step away from it and be the best that you can be. I would suggest Maxine Waters, Al Green, Eminem, go join Harvey Weinstein and go to therapy somewhere before they end up in jail themselves. Peace. All right. Where's that loudmouth John? Has he got anything else to say? No, I don't see him anymore. Oh, I said Korean. I'm sorry. Ho Chi Minh was Vietnamese. Sorry, my bad. Yeah. Thank you for that. I got on a roll there. Snowflake is butter. All right. Says, for John, list of communist.org organizations operating in the U.S. freerepublic.com. That's good. Okay, people can go look that up. Yeah, I know Ho Chi Minh was Vietnamese. I got that. All right. Listen, I'm not perfect. I'm not one of these people that has somebody telling them stuff in their ear so it sounds like they know a lot. You know, like the pawn shop guys, right? I don't know. Pawn shop guys, I don't know if you know this in that show. All those people are cast for that show. It's not like when they walk up and they say, I have this Glock cup, you know, and then they go, oh, well, you know, a Glock is a certain weapon that was made out of polymer. You know, it's brought before the show starts. And so when you see Chumley or any of these other guys up there, you know, talking the history of this stuff, that's a reality show. Those are scripted words that they're saying. Well, the same. I'm not perfect. I'm not like that. I make mistakes, right? I have a certain expertise. I have a certain insight in things that happen in government and politics and leadership and military and law enforcement, but I don't know everything. And when I make a mistake, I fully admit it. Anyway, let's go to the Truth Zone. I got to get out of here. Stand by. Where is it at here? There it is. Stand by. How many of you are prepared for an incident like this? Get my new book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival, and I will teach you to think like an attacker so you can truly defend yourself. Don't just react, act. Available for pre-order now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Sheep No More. Get it. All right. I just got a question here from Benny Benz. I don't know you, Benny, but excellent question. Now, Benny, I don't know if that's your picture. You have an African-American black guy. I don't know what we even call people anymore in this country, because everybody gets mad. Everybody's a victim. You have dark skin on the picture. I'm assuming that you have dark skin in real life. Maybe, maybe not. But the question is it possible to fix this division in the USA? Excellent question, Benny. You know, it's interesting. Fixing problems in this country, if you've ever seen the movie I, Robot, where Will Smith goes, who's another weirdo, unfortunately, a great actor and inspirational speaker, but one of these Scientologists. Anyway, it's another story for another day. But he goes in the movie, and he's standing there in front of all these containers from ships, shipping containers, and he's wanting to figure out the question. So the hologram of the doctor that raised him and created these robots comes up, and he keeps asking the questions, and the doctor doesn't answer the questions. And finally, he asks a question, and the doctor says, that is the right question. That was the right question that you just asked. Let me go back up here. Benny Benz. Yes, it is possible. Listen, you live in a free country. This is why I love Christianity so much, right? I was thinking about this today. There is no other religion in the world ever that is about choice and about freedom and about you making the decision on whether or not you follow God. Every other religion that people join says you must do this, 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 and this. The Bible says one thing: you got to have faith. And the United States is the same way. The American people are not forced. You go to other countries in this world, you're forced to think a certain way. You're forced to be a certain way. There's in Canada and countries like that where if you say the wrong thing, in California now they're trying to do the same thing. If you say something derogatory about somebody who's transgender, you can be charged with a crime. This country is about freedom. Freedom is about choice. Choice to be your best, choice to be your worst. And Benny, here's the answer to your question. It is possible. It is possible for this country to come together and unify. You don't have to have the conflict that communism speaks about by any means necessary. The conflict, and out of that conflict comes a synthesis. You don't have to have that. It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, black or white, you're Asian or you're Irish. It doesn't matter if you're a woman or a man, if you're gay or straight. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you all choose to stand together. What matters is that you all choose effective decisions, and that you push away the people that tried to divide you, that you stand firm against the people that cause dissension in the ranks. For those veterans that have ever been in a small platoon, you know that somebody who is constantly trying to divide is like a cancer, and you got to cut it out. If we stand together, we can cut out these cancers. But if we don't, Benny, we're already doomed. I'm Jonathan Gillum. Old Rico's now asleep over there. I'll see you tomorrow for the Friday Night Toast. Join me. Tell everybody about this show and order my book. The truth has arrived. This is The Experts. How many of you are prepared for an incident like this? Get my new book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival, and I will teach you to think like an attacker so you can truly defend yourself. Don't just react, act. Available for pre-order now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Sheep No More. Get it.